Welcome to the SDS Science Snapshot series. Closed captioning, subtitles, and automatic foreign language translations are available in the YouTube settings, at least when using a desktop browser. My name is Esther Hars, President and CEO of the Shwachman-Diamond Syndrome Alliance. Our mission is to accelerate therapy development and the cure for SDS, in particular to eliminate the deadly leukemia risk it brings, in a time frame that matters to our children and thousands of SDS patients worldwide. Science has made incredible progress in the past few years, and we will make sure all SDS patients benefit. Today's video is about a very important new publication by Dr. Lindsley's group at the Dana-Farber Cancer Institute here in Boston. The title is Clonal Hematopoiesis in the Inherited Bone Marrow Failure Syndromes, published in the journal Blood in July 2020. There's a second, more detailed article in the works, conducted in collaboration with the North American SDS Registry and Dr. Akiko Shimomura, which will hopefully be published very soon. One of the biggest problems with Shwachman-Diamond syndrome is that it puts patients at high risk for leukemia early in life, especially acute myeloid leukemia, also known as AML, or a pre-leukemic condition called myelodysplastic syndrome, or MDS. Once leukemia develops, it is very hard to treat. Currently, the only potential cure for leukemia is bone marrow or stem cell transplant, but this is most effective when done before full-blown leukemia develops. It is a very difficult and long process with a high risk of life-threatening complications and side effects. A central challenge is to predict which patients will develop leukemia and when, so that a transplant can be initiated preemptively to give patients the best chance at survival. This article presents a model for making this prediction by analyzing new acquired mutations in the blood-forming stem cells of the bone marrow. Our blood is produced and maintained throughout our life by special cells in the bone marrow called hematopoietic stem or progenitor cells, in short HSPCs. Let's just call them stem cells. They can self-renew, make blood cells of different lineages, that is red cells and white cells and platelets, and keep a balance of the right amount of each. In SDS, that doesn't work quite right. In SDS, these stem cells are less fit. They may die sooner, self-renew less efficiently, and produce fewer mature blood cells. SDS is caused by mutations in the SDS gene in over 90% of patients. Over time, the stem cells can acquire new, so-called somatic mutations. Some of these mutations can make them more fit and allow them to multiply and build up a clone. A clone is a group of cells that derive from a single stem cell with a growth advantage or increased fitness compared to its neighbors. In SDS, there are two ways SBDS deficient stem cells can become more fit and develop into clones. Through normalization, where a new mutation compensates for the original SBDS mutations. Another way is through transformation, where instead of addressing the original SBDS defect, the cells bypass quality control and tumor suppressor mechanisms and gain the potential to divide out of control. This is a maladaptive response and increases the risk of leukemia. Let's look at the difference between the two through an analogy. Imagine a stacking toy with colorful rings of different sizes to be stacked on a base, and the factory and machines that make them. The toy represents our blood with various blood cells. The factory represents the bone marrow, with the blood-forming stem cells being the machines. Scenario A is a healthy factory. To make the right amount of this toy for all the kids who want them, a healthy factory has to make the right amount of the right shape of all the rings. let's say 6 perfect sets per hour. The next scenario, scenario B, represents SDS. The factory has a problem making enough toys because the rings get stuck in the molds or spill over, and several machines are out of service. It cannot meet the demand. The factory has 2 ways to increase production. One of them would be scenario C. It can address the problem directly by fixing some machines or by adding a non-stick coating to the mold. These strategies will increase the output while still generating perfect sets of toys. The quality and quantity of the toys will catch up to the healthy factory, but it won't overproduce the toys or sacrifice quality. This is a compensatory mechanism and represents normalization. Now, the other scenario is a bit different. That's scenario D. It can completely ignore the quality issues and just increase the throughput. The rings still get stuck in the molds, but the factory just powers through. It doesn't care, basically. Output is increased, but without quality control, it's just all junk. The factory is out of control. This is a maladaptive mechanism and represents transformation. In SDS, both coping mechanisms have been observed. Several mutant clones are commonly observed in the bone marrow of SDS patients during their bone marrow surveillance over time. I7q, which provides an extra copy of a region of chromosome 7 that contains the leaky SDS gene, is a normalizing mutation. It basically increases the gene dose of SDS. It's like fixing the machines in the toy factory. Another mutation often observed is del20q, which is a deletion of a section of chromosome 20. It contains, among many others, a gene that is involved in ribosome assembly. New research indicates that mutations or deletions in this gene reduce the amount of IEF6, making it easier for SBDS to do its job in helping assemble the ribosome. It counteracts the SBDS defect and is therefore compensatory, normalizing. It's like adding non-stick coating to the machines. Another mutation that's observed in SDS is the loss of p53. p53 loss does not address the SBDS defect directly. Instead, it puts the stem cells on a path to acquire even more mutations and to divide uncontrollably without quality control, like getting rid of quality control in the toy factory and ramping up production to the extreme, producing a huge amount of junk. It's not quite as simple as this, though. Up until now, it wasn't clear what role p53 plays in SDS, except that it's often found in SDS patients, regardless whether they develop leukemia or not. New research indicates that one single p53 mutation by itself does not predict imminent leukemia risk. However, if the second copy of p53 is lost as well, this complete p53 inactivation indicates a strong increase in leukemia risk. Why is this important? Because early detection of dangerous changes in the stem cells gives patients the best chance at survival. With this new understanding of which clones are good or bad, clinicians will be able to look at them during SDS patients' regular surveillance. Current surveillance strategies rely on regular monitoring of blood counts, bone marrow morphology, cytogenetics, but are not very sensitive in detecting early signs of transformation. The addition of next-generation sequencing, a tool that can detect the mutations we just discussed and more, will enable the identification of clones that have an increased transformation risk sooner, and thereby allow early intervention when the treatment options have the best outcomes, such as preemptive bone marrow transplantation or even gene therapy in the future. And finally, This research may also lead to the development of new biomarkers and clinically relevant endpoints for drug and therapy development. Thank you for watching. This video is part of a series on SDS science. Learn more about Shwachman-Diamond syndrome on the SDS Alliance website at www.sdsalliance.org and follow us on our social media sites like facebook.com/SDSalliance. See you again soon.